Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
So you'll think you're listening to Elvis Presley, but you're not. He always makes it very clear he's a tribute artist of Elvis Presley. But if anyone could do it, it's Chris MacDonald. And so welcome to our show, Chris.
Thank you very much for having me back.
Yeah, it's great. You know, last night I was watching The Voice, I guess, where they have all these contestants. And
Sure.
It is amazing, isn't it, how so many people struggle and work so hard to either sound like someone else or have their own interpretation. And I guess that's a good part about television, that it has really changed the whole, song view, the way people heard it, and now they can see somebody. But I know you can't get on because you've already made it, but I wish more people in the world could know you and see you, except just for your audiences around the United States. You're such a sight to behold, and I mean that. Well, really
You're very sweet. You're very sweet.
It's true.
I appreciate it. It's the show that we do is, of course, there's only one Elvis. We know that, and he definitely affected pop culture and music. And he had 3 decades of his career before he left way too young. I mean, he was only 42 years old. So he left an indelible impact on music and culture. He was the king of rock and roll. He was like the first really American Idol, in the rock and roll era. So what we do is a tribute, and we travel throughout the United States, as you said, to theaters and casinos, performing arts venues. And the show is a tribute. It's I try to resemble, naturally at the same time, be myself. And the vocals are natural. They're not over the top. And the music is strong. We've got an 8-piece band. We've got a horn section and a rhythm section, and the singers, that back up the vocals. And then I try to, make sure that I entertain the audience. And I think that's really what's most important about Elvis's persona. He truly loved live performance, and he loved the interaction with the audience. Of course, he was wonderful in the movies, and he did what he could do, and he was he's an icon. But his true natural ability to take a song, make it his, and present the feelings and the emotion of that song to his audience is what made him Elvis. And that's what we try to do with the show. We want you to go ahead and go back in time, and for those of you that may have seen him on the Ed Sullivan Show, or for those of you that may have seen the movies, or even some of the live performances in Vegas, or maybe those of you that have never seen him, but about the videos they have. Of course, there's a bunch on YouTube, and they show them different times on television and so on. But this way you get to see live performance of these great songs, a live performance that kind of brings you back to what he was all about. And that's what we try to do with the show. And it's fun. I mean, that's really isn't it good to go out to see a show that you actually enjoy and have a good time? and that's what we try to do. We want you to come out and have fun and relive the memories of Elvis. That's what it's all about.
And you do. And you see, when you go there, you are having fun and you are doing that. Let me tell everybody, get your pencils out, because I know you'll want to go. You really need to go and see the show. So let me tell you when you can do that. It's not often, so you don't want to miss this. It's Saturday, August the 17th, and you can either go to the matinee at 1:30 in the afternoon or 7:30, and it's actually it's being held at the Broward. It's at the Broward Center, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Sometimes you're at a different place, but this is the Broward Center. You all know where that is. It's gorgeous, and to see, I mean, I could see Chris MacDonald anywhere. I mean, he could be in my basement. I don't even have a basement. But he could be there, and I would love it. But to see him on a full stage the way Elvis was, you will be so enthralled. You want to you should take your grandchildren or your children, because there's some people, as Chris said, they don't even know. They've heard his music, but they don't really know what it was like. And to see it
fun
performed,
for the whole family.
Yeah, it is.
Exactly. And that's the thing is, when it's live music, which is another thing. It's live theater. It's live music. So even if they don't know about Elvis, or if they maybe think they know about him, they're not really a big fan, or they say take it or leave it, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. There's a lot of people like that. But when you actually come to the show, it has an entertainment value on its own. Me as an entertainer, the band, the musicians as entertainment, the show telling the story of his career, the music. It's actually, whether you like Elvis or not, we give you a show. We present music to you, so you don't have to be an Elvis fan. If you're an Elvis fan, you're going to get it, you're going to love it, and you're going to say, walk away with a smile, because that's all we want to do. We want you to remember Elvis and all the great music and the moments of his career. We do videos in between, which lead you into those different eras. I do costume changes. So I start off in the early 50s look and do the stuff like from the Ed Sullivan Show, Don't Be Cruel and Blue Suede Shoes and Hound Dog and all those great songs. And then we run a clip that brings you into the movies. So there's a video clip that sets up the movies of Elvis. And we do songs from Blue Hawaii, like Can't Help Falling in Love and Rockahula. And then we go into Bossa Nova Baby and Return to Sender and Viva Las Vegas. And then there's a video clip that sets up that 1968 comeback when he's wearing that black leather. So we do all those songs from that show that showed he could still rock and roll after doing all those movies. Let you take a little break, go out and get something to drink, and use the facilities if you need to, and then come back in, and then we do a tribute to the 1970s concert years when Elvis hit Vegas, that white fringe outfit, and he took over Vegas. Today they call it a residency, but when Elvis did it, he owned Vegas. It wasn't just a residency, he owned it.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of show that we present to you. So it's not just a little piece of Elvis's career that, like sometimes there's overblown caricatures of things that you see about Elvis. This is not done as an overblown caricature. It's done as a tribute, telling you a story of the shy, humble country boy who became the king of rock and roll. And that's what we do. We tell you that through the eras of his career, through the great music that everybody, loves. Even if you didn't hear it before, there's something about the music that is simple. It's rock and roll. It gets lyrics you can understand. Music that works. You tap your feet. And what's interesting, the 1:30 show is a matinee, of course. So it does work for all age groups. If you want to bring the family out, aunts, uncles, grandparents, moms and dads, come out as a family and enjoy a day of simple music and entertainment. Well, and then we got the evening performance at 7:30, so you can come out too and see it at 7:30.
Well, let me add something to this, because you may think this is strange, but I recently saw the movie Pavarotti, which was amazing because they were able to put together all his life and do it. I thought about Elvis when I was there, because we know that Pavarotti really brought opera to the common man. And I think that Elvis really was responsible for bringing rock and roll to people who never would have considered it, because it was very sophisticated, and because he was, and this is funny, he was as sweet as Pavarotti was. I don't know if you saw the movie yet, but you should. Pavarotti had a very sweet attitude and liked everyone, and I know that that's how Elvis was, right?
Yes. And that's the whole thing. Back then, that's what made Elvis, the whole concept, just a magical time frame. You're talking about the golden age of television, of course, and the Ed Sullivan Show. And rock and roll was so new that they were kind of afraid of it. The parents were afraid of it. It was crossing racial and cultural barriers. Elvis grew up in the very poor area of Mississippi, Delta area, Memphis, and Mississippi, and he experienced all kinds of music. They experienced country, rhythm and blues, gospel, and basically that's how rock and roll formed. And what he did is he took his influences, because he was raised very poor. They were dirt poor, matter of fact, and he just was experiencing everything about that culture of the area, which basically was all kinds of music. So fusing that together and performing it with the way he looked didn't hurt that he was a good-looking guy, and he had a way that he moved that was, different. He was very sexy. Yes, it was sexual. It seemed sexual, but now if you look at it now, it probably wasn't as much as they do on TV now. But at the same time, he presented this new form of music, and looking the way he did, and everything was timed perfectly. The Ed Sullivan Show had him on, and Ed said, we got to have this guy on. He's like, it's a firestorm. Everything's, they're going nuts for him. We got to have him on. But you know something? We're not sure about what he's doing with his legs and moving around down south, down below the belt. So Ed Sullivan said, let's cut him off the waist. That'll do it. So, of course, when they cut him off at the waist on the Ed Sullivan Show, it made it even more incredible and just took off like a rocket. It was like, sometimes when you try to stop something, that's when it really catches fire. It just really goes. So, the rest is history. I mean, they cut him off of the waist, they put him on. And then later on, of course, Elvis had him on a bunch of times, and he literally, at one of the shows, said that it was just that Elvis was just a nice, fine human being and a nice boy. So, it's amazing that he actually was in a time that was perfect. He was and he grabbed the perfect moment, and when everything aligns, that's when you get Elvis Presley, and that's what happened.
Well, let me also tell you something else. I've been thinking a lot about him and you because, of course, I knew you were going to be on the show. Yesterday, we had our big expo, Boomer Expo, and we salute the veterans. And they sing all the veteran songs, and it was very interesting. Now, most of these big entertainers, they never went to war, but Elvis did, and I don't think you talk enough about that, frankly.
Yeah. He served. He was called to serve, and he did his 2 years. I believe it was right in the height of his career too. I mean, it was just it was huge at the time, and it was his time to go. So he went ahead and he served, and he wanted to make sure that he did everything normally. When he was there, he wanted to be a regular soldier, and he was very, very, very patriotic. And he loved his country and wanted to make sure that he did service for them. And, of course, later on in performances, we actually do a song, which he did, in tribute to the troops, in tribute to the first responders, in tribute to the men and women that are overseas or serving now. We do a song called the American Trilogy, which starts off in the Civil War and moves on all the way through to Glory, Glory, Hallelujah. And what it's doing is it's paying tribute to those men and women that have given their lives for their country, and it's a part of our show.
That's
that we truly
great.
love doing.
You didn't do it when I saw it, I don't think. Did you see something new?
Yeah. We always finish the show.
Wow, I didn't remember it. I'll have to come back again.
Yes,
I don't remember.
It's how we close the show. A special tribute to the troops there.
Yeah. Well, he was great. And then let's cover a little bit of his personal life. Let's talk a little bit about when he got married. I mean, I read enough about it, and he absolutely loved his wife. I mean, he really did. They had quite a love life, and then had a child. Will you cover a little bit of that? I know it isn't. You don't sing it, but you do know it.
Yeah, he loved her. Still, they couldn't be together. There was all kinds of issues. He had it's personal stuff. I'm sure he had a lot of women after him, like you expect, and she was very young when they got together, and then she grows up, and he's basically the same. The issues. There's all kinds of stuff, but he always did love her, and she handles she works with the estate still. She is the figurehead of the estate, along with Lisa,
fantastic.
the daughter.
I love the fact you said that. I have forgotten you had said that, but isn't that wonderful? And that was her guy.
Sure. Yeah. And Lisa, the daughter Lisa Marie, she's a part of it also. I think there was something that there was a bunch of songs he did record during those time frames, like the song "Always on My Mind," which he recorded before Willie Nelson. It was written for him, and he recorded "Always on My Mind," and a song like "Separate Ways," which we've done also at the shows. Another song, "Until It's Time for You to Go," and this particular show, we're bringing. Besides the regular hits, of course, the number ones. You got to do the number ones. I mean, it's important to do the number ones. The big hits that Elvis did. But we also try to throw in some of those personal songs that he did too that maybe didn't have the radio play, but he did them live and he loved doing them. And there's a song called Just Pretend, which is a beautiful song. And we're going to be doing that at the show coming up in the Broward Center too. And he did this a lot in Vegas. And so he did, I would think his personal life with some of these power ballads and love songs, he pulled from his personal relationships. When you do any of these songs and you connect to the lyrics, you are feeling these songs while you're singing. Because if you're not doing it right. So that's what we try to do too.
Okay, let me tell you again. I am now talking to the tribute artist of Elvis Presley, and he is from my professional life, and I've seen a lot of Elvises. This is the only Elvis that you want to see. If you can't see the real one, you want to see Chris MacDonald. He's going to be performing Memories of Elvis in concert, and you can go and see this Saturday, August 17th. It's just almost here, so get your tickets. It's at 1:30 p.m. as the matinee, and then 7:30 p.m., and it's at the Broward Center. So what you want to do is make this phone call. Do it today, right after we're off the show. Do it, get yourself all set. You can go online to browardcenter.org. That's easy. Or you can order by phone, which is 954-462-0222. 954-462-0222. Or if you want to do, it's so hot outside. You want to get a bunch of your friends and say, let's go have a cool afternoon or evening.
There you go.
Let's go. And they have group sales and the prices are much less. And I'll give you that number. Also, it's 954-660-6307. Something else I wanted to ask you. I just saw the Rocket Man, Elton John. And he grew up, but his parents weren't very kind to his talent. How were the parents of Elvis? Did they know they had a talent? How did that go?
Very, very, very supportive, of course, once he got everything going. And early on, his mother Elvis was very close to his mother. And she promoted, everything that he wanted to do and got him the guitar. And so the rest is history there. And, of course, she died way too early, too, and he was devastated from that, His father actually ended up touring with him and was a big part of those years. A very, very nice man. They were dirt poor there when he started, so he took them from a tenement to Graceland. So it was something very special. He didn't want his dad to, of course, work anymore. His dad worked all his life, and his dad actually, during the harder times, he had they were trying to make ends meet. His dad had written a check that didn't clear, and they put him in jail for a little bit, and so it was a very rough time. It was just when he was a child. That's what he experienced. So as soon as everything got going, he took care of his family.
Yeah, I thought that he bought his mom, a home. I knew that happened, I guess.
Graceland. Yeah, Graceland was...
So Graceland was the home.
It was his home. Graceland was his home, but he moved his parents in, of course.
I see.
Yeah, he bought his mother. He had another house first on Audubon Drive in Memphis, early on. And then, of course, he had Graceland. And Graceland, he moved the family in, and that was his home for the rest of his life.
Did he win major awards? I mean, what?
Yeah, he received Grammys. He received the Grammys were in gospel music. What's funny is he got all these #1 hits and all these incredible recording, million sellers and all that stuff. But the thing that he won his Grammy and the three Grammys was the gospel music, his gospel recordings. So, and of course, he was a member of the Country Music Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Music Hall of Fame, Blues Hall of Fame. So has a lot of accomplishments, great accomplishments. But when it comes to Grammys itself, the Grammys, which music artists always achieve or not achieve, or always wish to have, instead of rock and roll Grammys, except of course, lifetime achievement thing. But besides that, he actually gospel music. His roots is where he won the Grammys.
So, Chris, did he write any of his own music or his songs? Or I knew that he sang others, but how did that go?
Yeah. He wasn't really a songwriter. He did get writing credit on Heartbreak Hotel and a couple other songs where he kind of maybe helped with some words, or they gave him credit for it. But he owned all his own and they owned all the publishing, Gladys Music, and he really didn't have to write songs. So many people wanted to write songs and want him to record it, that he could pick whatever he wanted. And he used to listen to demos of these songs and then decide that, okay, that's what I want. And then, of course, he'd make these songs his own, once he got in the studio.
Sure. Was he a good guitar player?
He played, he knew chords, he played music, and, he actually enjoyed it, but he was best at singing and dancing, moving around, and presenting the music that way.
Yeah, there's sometimes you see him, he doesn't have the guitar with him on his around his neck.
Yeah.
Sometimes he does, and sometimes he doesn't.
Yeah. He used it for a couple songs, early years and stuff, and then the '68 comeback, he played it, when they did that show with the black leather, and of course, in some of the movies, and then he would wear the guitar out sometimes for C.C. Ryder, in the '70s music, and that, and played a little bit, but after that, he put it down and he'd sing.
Did he ever play at Madison Square Garden?
Yes, he sold out Madison Square Garden many times.
No
many
kidding.
times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he sold that out a bunch of times.
And was Las Vegas his favorite place?
I think just on stage touring was his favorite place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he loved Vegas. He loved Memphis was always where he wanted to go back to.
Well, I live with him through you, of course, and I've told you before that I did get to actually see him in Miami in the 50s, so it's even special for me because a lot of people didn't see him. Yeah, and you never really saw him either, right? Ha ha.
No, I wasn't around to see him.
I know.
Too soon. Yeah.
Did your mother ever get to see him?
No, she didn't.
Because she's
really all the movies. I mean, that's how I got into it.
Right,
I mean, if it wasn't for the films, watching as a little kid, with my mom, just flipping the channels around, and all of a sudden you see all these beautiful girls in bikinis,
yeah, right.
and Elvis singing to him by the poolside, and then next thing you know, he's beating up the bad guy, and then he's winning a car race. So he was cool. It sounded like a great gig, and even as a little kid, you're looking at him like, he's Mickey Mantle of rock and roll,
That's a good way. That's a good point. Well, I remember I was, 18, 19 something, and boy, he did shake. I mean, it was something we never saw. It was so sexy, and I don't know, maybe I did scream a lot because I think I was hoarse when it was over, but people went, the girls, the ladies went berserk. They couldn't get, of course, he had protection not going up on the stage because they lined up, because they all wanted to get up and get him. Oh, my God.
That was a wild situation, and we were lucky enough to do shows with the Jordanaires, Elvis' original backup group, and DJ Fontana, who just passed away recently, Elvis' drummer. So DJ and the Jordanaires, we would be able to talk, before the show went on, and some of the stories. I mean, it was crazy. The ladies definitely didn't know what to think. I don't think they thought with their heads. It became their bodies after a while.
Right. Yeah, when they're throwing their pants, their bras, they were throwing things at him, and it was, and it's very interesting to see that, and it doesn't happen. Actually, it doesn't happen that way today, but there are entertainers where the women do go crazy because you see the big shows and you see them raising their hands. I mean, it's the same kind of thing, but this, I think what he attributes to him is a whole new way of a performer dancing and playing, and no one's had seen it in history now, in all the musical history. Was there anyone like this?
No, he had, like I say, he crossed cultural barriers. I mean, Sam Phillips, the guy that found, that he worked with him at the Sun label, they put the music out, and at first they thought Elvis was black. They thought
right.
the singer on that recording was black. So basically, he was, at the time right there, the music and everything, because he grew up in that area, he had so many influences. He would listen to the blues music. He'd listen to the black gospel churches. I mean, that's where he grew up. I mean, they were just a part of that whole Mississippi Delta area, all that magic that was happening there. And from that Sun label, you got Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, Roy Orbison, so and these guys all came through that area, and Elvis, what he did on stage and the way he moved was how he felt from the music. And you really didn't see that until him. And a lot of the artists that are influenced music, the Beatles, Rolling Stones, all the other rock and roll acts that came after that in the 60s, even John Lennon himself, John Lennon said, for the Beatles, for him, before Elvis, there was nothing. That's a quote from him. Before Elvis, there was nothing. So Elvis, to them, represented what they wanted to be. They wanted to be that rock and roll icon.
So, listen, Chris, this is interesting. I love having you on the show, and I'm going to shut this off now, but we have an extra 15 minutes. The person canceled, and I'd like you to give me another 15 minutes. Do you feel up to it? Can you?
Oh, sure.
I want you to do it. So we're going to close you off now, and then I'm going to throw this 15 minutes on again, so you'll be able to get, more promotion. So hold on. We're going to thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay.
Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.